How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Some idea.
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final scene. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final scene of
Truth Lover 69 sent $10. I had a scary dream last night that Karlin Borisenko kept screaming at me that I did not understand the left and I was crying and kept saying like this. But she just kept screaming that I did not understand and she would teach me.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Hey everyone, welcome to the cult. Happy Monday. Well, it's almost Thanksgiving. Can you guys believe that? I have to go buy a turkey tomorrow. I have to figure out what I'm cooking for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is really like the one day a year that I actually, I'm actually a pretty good cook if I want to be. I know how to cook. I know how to cook stuff. It's just that, like, I get into routines with things where I kind of make the same thing over and over and over again because it's easy, and we don't want to get too fancy about it because really that takes time. But Thanksgiving, I really do try to, kind of go all out. I get a turkey. I brine the ever-loving F out of that turkey. If you have never had a brined turkey for Thanksgiving, you have not lived. My turkey is like the best turkey ever. I brine it with molasses and soy sauce and all sorts of other like umami things, like just so much salt, like it makes your head spin, and it comes out so good and so moist. And I do stuffing. And I do a mashed potato of sorts in that I buy mashed potatoes and then I I go to Whole Foods and I purchase the mashed potatoes, and then I do gravy though. I do make my own gravy, and my gravy is good. Turkey gravy is the best thing that's ever happened. Maybe I might even make broccoli and cheese this year. I don't know. My mother used to always make broccoli and cheese, and she had a very specific broccoli and cheese recipe that is kind of like addicting, if I'm honest about it. I haven't made it in a couple of years. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I gotta figure out my Thanksgiving. I cannot even believe it's the week of Thanksgiving. Like, what happened? Seriously. This year has gone by so quickly. And I don't really know what my streaming schedule is going to be like this week because we do have the holiday. Now, my inclination, honestly, is just kind of play it by ear and kind of see what I feel like doing. We're going to be streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, obviously. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it on Friday, though. My inclination is that, yes, I will be streaming on Friday, and maybe I'll even be streaming on Thursday night. Maybe I will even do a Thanksgiving Eve stream. We can do a good Nitwits episode. Maybe we can catch up. Maybe we can catch up with the Thorpes. I have not thought about the Thorpes ever since I had to get a restraining order against Ben Thorpe because he kept threatening to come to my house. And I was like, "You're not coming to my house, motherfucker." And he's like, "Oh, yes, I am." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And then I went to the police station. The police station was like, "Go get a restraining order right now." So maybe we have to do an episode where we're catching up with the Thorpe. I really have no idea what's going on with the Thorpes. When I got the restraining order, and I think the restraining order is like no longer like in like, because I you know what happened with you guys know what happened with the restraining order? Do you guys know what happened? Like, okay, so I was all set to go to court. This was kind of my fault, but I also feel like it wasn't my fault. So I got the restraining order, and then the judge was like, you have to come back to court because we have to give him a chance to like tell his side. And I was like, fine. So he gave us a date that was like a month out from the restraining order or something, and I was all ready to go back to court. I was dressed, I was showered, I looked presentable. The court changed the time of the hearing, and I didn't find out about it until after the hearing because the court never notified me. So I was ready to go for the like original time of the hearing, and then I show up and the hearing was like 4 hours earlier in the day, and they never notified me. I was like, what the fuck? But, I mean, Ben Thorpe hasn't shown up at my house, so it's like not a big deal, and I really hope he stays the ever-loving F away, because I'm not opposed to going down that route again. But the judge was very pissed off at me, though, when I asked for the restraining order originally. He was like, you can't talk about him on the internet anymore. I was like, what if he talks about me on the internet? Am I not allowed to respond to him? And then the judge was like, that's a fair point, but I don't want any funny business. And so I really dialed it back. I was like just not talking about the Thorpes at all, because I was like, I'm going to have to deal with this judge again. And I was trying to be on my best behavior, and then the court changes the time of the hearing and doesn't tell me about it, and so I missed the whole flipping hearing. It was deeply unfair, and it wasn't my fault. And, you know, since you know, I kind of take it as free license to say and do whatever I want about the Thorpes now, because I've been good for months. Now, and I've heard rumors about some stuff going on. I've heard rumors about a video of Grace doing something to her father under the blanket on video. Anyway, you know what? This is a better conversation for Thanksgiving. Let's just put a pause on the Thorpe conversation, and we will delay that until the Thanksgiving holiday. Mizakan says, the last time I heard about them was when Hormaxer banned her from his stream. What has Hormaxer been up to? I haven't been keeping up with any of this stuff. Anyway, we have more important business to do today. Rottweiler is already introducing our topic. Although Peter Boghossian is behind us by several years, I'll give him credit for at least trying to catch up. Unlike James or Ellen, think you mean Helen. Let's see if he actually learned something from this exchange. Listen, man, we're going to be watching, oh, that's not what I wanted that banner to be. Hang on. I want this to be a little ticky scrolly banner. Hang on. Save. No, not add. Save. There we go. Isn't that nicer? You know, we are going to be watching... I'm not ready for that Naruto Super Chat yet. We're going to come back to Naruto Super Chat. Sorry about that, Naruto. We are going to be watching Peter Boghossian today. And listen, I have not watched Peter Boghossian in a while, so I really have no idea. Peter Boghossian is, of course, the third part of the grievance studies affair, along with James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose. Now, we all know that I have successfully driven James Lindsay insane. I'm pretty sure I successfully drove Helen Pluckrose. Actually, you know what? No, I won't even take credit for Helen being driven insane. I think Helen was insane already, and then I just came along and I kind of poked in the right spot, and Helen lost her shit at us. But, like, I don't think I was the one that did that. I think Helen was already insane, and then I just came along and I was like, poke, 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 and she lost her mind and she deleted her account, but now she's back on Twitter. Who knows how long that'll last. But to be honest, I haven't really kept up with Peter Boghossian on pretty much anything, honestly, because he just hasn't done anything that's interested me. But, you know, we are paying attention to the so-called grievance studies affairs people, and I think it's going to be interesting to see. Is that the one I want? No, that's not the one I want. Let's just do that one. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Peter Boghossian knows. So I came across this video on his channel. Apparently, Peter Boghossian had a conversation with with a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America. Now, we, of course, are deeply familiar with the Revolutionary Communists of America because I've covered them more than any of the so-called anti-woke people on the internet. For example, we when was this? This was a while ago. Back in March, found a video of the Revolutionary Communists of America literally saying they wanted to overthrow the United States government and raise the red flag of communism above the White House. We put that out. We infiltrated a recruiting call with the Revolutionary Communists of America. We got that on tape. That's an exclusive. I spoke directly to a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America who contacted me clandestinely, and then I recorded the conversation and put it on the internet. I also interviewed 2 leaders in the Revolutionary Communists of America, and the most important thing that came out of that interview is those 2 leaders taught us what intifada means. And intifada has nothing to do with the Jews. It has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It has nothing to do with that. Intifada means worldwide socialist revolution. So anytime you see the campus protesters or any of these people who the conservative right likes to say are anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas or any of those things, they're not any of those things. They're radical revolutionary socialists who are calling for a worldwide socialist revolution. And we know that because 2 leaders in the Revolutionary Communists of America came and told us that. I've covered this group more than anyone else on the internet that I know of. Maybe other people have covered them more. If you have covered them more, let me know. I would love to talk to you. But all of these so-called like anti-woke opinion leaders barely know who these people are, and they definitely don't know what they believe. I know what they believe because not only have I covered them, I've actually talked to them directly and asked them what they believe. And so I'm interested to hear what Peter Boghossian has to say in this video. It's a little bit more of a shorter video, but that's okay because Monday streams are a little bit shorter. I do have a supporter call that happens at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so we got about an hour and a half until that. So we should have plenty of time to talk about some stuff to get through this video, and I think it's going to be interesting. And listen, I'm not just watching this to shit on Peter Boghossian. I don't know that I will. I shit on James Lindsay because James Lindsay deserves it. I shit on Helen Pluckrose because Helen Pluckrose deserves it. It is my sincere hope that the 3rd member of the Grievance Studies Affair will not let us down in the same way that James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose have let us down. We always want the best of people. We want people to do a good job. I don't just shit on people for the sake of shitting on them. If they're doing something good, I'm going to say it. If they understand things, I'm going to say it. I really hope Peter Boghossian gets it. I really, really do. But I guess we'll find out. I have not listened to Peter Boghossian in a long time, so I don't know how this is going to go. By the way, Sophie... Sophie made a YouTube channel and is doing a response video to her own book? What? Is this Christmas? Is this my birthday? Is this Valentine's Day? What? Sophie made a YouTube channel? Hang on. Sophie and mine's relationship is about to go to a whole new level. This is going to be great. Hang on. Sophie Lewis. Is it under her name? Do you have a link to Sophie's YouTube channel? Because I can't find it right off the bat, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop looking for it. If someone can find Sophie's YouTube channel and DM me a link to it, that would be, yeah, this is like, if Sophie has a YouTube channel and she starts posting YouTube content regularly, this is going to be like Christmas and my birthday and Valentine's Day and Halloween and the 4th of July all rolled into one, and it's going to be awesome. That's like the best news I've heard all day. Naruto says, I just had a Mandela effect. Netflix just released a documentary called Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey. I'm like, didn't her parents get convicted of that? No, her parents did not get convicted of that. I understand though, Naruto. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Hey guys, before we get into it, I have a big announcement to make because as you all know, one of the ways I fund my work is by selling merchandise, the best anti-communist merchandise on the internet, in the Unwoke Art store. That is unwokeart.com. Guess what? It's time for some black... hang on, listen. The link isn't showing because you're not a mod. Can you just give us her username or something, or DM it to me on Twitter? That would be great. Thank you. So, it is time for the age-old tradition of the Black Friday sale. Now, I didn't make the rules, but this is something people expect out of merch stores, and I'm going to do Black Friday right this year. We did about 2 weeks worth of holiday sales last year out of the Unwoke Art Store, sold a lot of merch. Basically what I did last year is I put a new I put a new design on sale every single day, and so you could go in and get discounts on all your favorite designs. I brought back some old designs, stuff like that. We're upping our game this year for Black Friday in the Unwoke Art Store. In that, first of all, we're starting before Black Friday. Black Friday in the Unwoke Art Store starts now. And there are going to be sales and deals and all sorts of stuff over the next couple of weeks, basically up until the point where, like, I can no longer ship you the merchandise on time, which is going to be about a couple weeks before Christmas. So we're talking like 3 weeks of deals and sales and awesome surprises in the Unwoke Art Store. And all purchases in the Unwoke Art Store not only give you cool merch for yourself that's awesome and anti-communist, it also gives you gifts you can give out for the holidays, and it helps fund the work I'm doing, and my merch is awesome. Okay? So to kick us off on this illustrious Black Friday adventure, I have added recently several new designs to the store. You have seen some of these designs. Some of them literally just got launched today. All right? And so the very first pre-Black Friday sale is you can get 25% off every single thing in each of these collections. Now, I've reformatted the Unwoke Art Store a little bit. So basically what you do is you go in, you click on a design, and that is going to show you the merchandise that is available for that design in that collection. So all of this stuff, this is one of my new favorite designs. It says communism kills creativity. It's got an awesome skull with like this kind of like mohawk thing. And I just think it looks cool. The colors are amazing. You're going to be able to get 25% off all of the communism kills creativity. All of the t-shirts come in different colors and things. You can go in and click around, see which colors you like the best. That is one of the designs that is on sale as a part of the Black Friday sale. We've also got this brand new design. This is the oppressed communist design, because I don't really see anything wrong with oppressing communists. I don't really see anything wrong with doing that at all. Also getting lots of different colors on the different t-shirts. You can get different colors on the hoodies, all that stuff too. There's mugs, there's stickers, there's posters, all sorts of good stuff. I decided to include the Marxism is evil signs as a part of this sale because it is a relatively new design. So a good opportunity to get your yard sign for 25% off. You can also get just the plain Marxism is evil collection, which comes with these awesome hats. Let's see. We have just launched, at long last, the long-awaited Land of Retardia map design. Thank you, Bot, for sending me over this map design. I really do appreciate it. You can get a t-shirt with the Land of Retardia. You can get a pint glass with the Land of Retardia. You can get a sticker with the Land of Retardia. You can get a journal. You can get a poster. You can even get a framed print if you would like to hang the Land of Retardia in your home. That is now available in the Unwoke Art Store, all for 25% off. And then we've got our Christmas designs. Now, I really made these for wrapping paper, and we do have wrapping paper. But I had a lot of fun making some anti-communist Christmas designs. You know, the first one is Santa hates socialists because, of course, Santa is a meritocracy. You are either naughty or you are nice, and that is the way it goes. And so if you are a socialist, you're getting a piece of coal. And can you imagine wearing this t-shirt to like a Christmas with a leftist? Or even better, it comes on wrapping paper. If you guys really want to piss off your leftist relatives, I mean, come on. But even I've got one better. And this is a design I literally just finished this morning. I was working on it last night. This is Communism Kills Christmas. It is a Christmas tree and Christmas presents that have been set on fire by communism with the communist star on top of the tree. And I mean, come on. Look at that wrapping paper. Come on. You know, like, can you just imagine the irony of, like, you have a communist son or daughter and they're all excited about getting gifts for Christmas, and you hand them a gift wrapped in the Communism Kills Christmas wrapping paper for just like an extra set of irony. I feel like this is an opportunity to teach kids about reality through wrapping paper. And there is other wrapping paper in the store, guys. It's not on sale yet, but if you're looking ahead, there are going to be some Trump sales, and we do have the Trump wrapping paper in the store. We have the Trump Gets the Last Laugh wrapping paper. We have the Trump Icon wrapping paper. We have the Trump American Gangster wrapping paper, and we have the Trump Indictment Victory Tour wrapping paper. Those items aren't on sale yet because they're not new designs in the store, but all of the Trump merch in the store, which you can scroll down and find here. These are all the Trump designs that we have. It will be on sale at some point in the next couple weeks. If you would like updates about what sales are going on in the Unwoke Art Store, what you need to do is subscribe to the Unwoke Art Substack, because this is where I send out email updates regarding new designs in the store or things like that. I announce sales in the store. So if you want to be the first to know what are the Black Friday deals, what are the holiday deals that we're getting in the Unwoke Art Store, sign up on unwokeart.substack.com. It is free to sign up for. It's just a mailing list. You can make donations through the website if you want, but you don't have to. And this helps me to be able to notify you when I add new stuff to the store. If you want to get like limited edition stuff like that. We will be bringing back some limited edition stuff as well. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun with this stuff, guys. I love doing my merch store. I really do believe I have the coolest designs on the internet. I mean, look at all these designs. Who else has merch like this on the internet? I really do wear my own designs. I'm wearing one of my own designs. Well, it's not one of my designs, but it is a design you can buy in the Unwoke Art Store. I'm wearing a design right now. I'll show you which one I'm wearing. Oh, I guess I can't. Hang on. There it is. This is literally the shirt I'm wearing right now. This is one of the zine designs created by Honest Dog Allison. You can get that in the Unwoke Art Store. And I wear almost exclusively my own merch, guys, at least for shirts, because my t-shirts are the best. They're super soft. They're jersey. They fit nice. You don't need a woman's fit. If you're a woman, the shirt actually hangs very nicely. It's not boxy or anything. And so you can pick out whatever design you want. You're going to be able to get some cool merch. And all purchases do go to fund the work I'm doing, so I really appreciate it. Again, that's unwokeart.com, and all of these designs are 25% off until Thursday at 11:59 p.m. And then we move into our official Black Friday sale. So if you want any of these designs, now is a good time to head over to the Unwoke Art Store, pick that stuff up, because come Friday, it ain't going to be on sale no more. And so you will have missed out on 25% off. And so might as well get it this week. That's all I'm saying. What else do I have? And other ways you can support the work I'm doing are by heading over to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. And if you would like to join us for the supporter call I have coming up at 7 p.m., what I need you to do is go right here to the Unwoke Roundup email. This is where you get all your supporter perks every single week on Sunday. And what you do is you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the email. The email basically tells you, here's all the content I created for you this week. Here's what we're talking about. Here's some different ways you can interact with me, stuff like that. And underneath this red box at the very bottom, you will find a link to my supporter Discord. I highly recommend everyone join the supporter Discord. You will find a link to join us for the Zoom call that we have at 7 o'clock tonight, so that's in 90 minutes. You will even find a 10% off discount in the Unwoke Art Store, because all of my supporters get a perpetual 10% off discount code that they can use on anything in the Unwoke Art Store. So if you don't see something on sale right now that you like, use that discount code and you'll get an extra 10% off. And that's really cool. And I really appreciate it. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, I've got one more thing. We've got Sophie's YouTube channel. Hang on. Let me look at Sophie's YouTube channel. This is like the most important thing. Sophie L. Let's see. What is Sophie doing on YouTube? Hi, Sophie. Hi, Sophie. That's okay. She just started it. Oh, no, she joined in 20. So we've got one video here. People often assume, just from a title, the book Full Surrogacy Now is a defense and or apology for the commercial gestational industry. Nothing of the sort. I'm extremely clear from page 1 that the markets of commodified pregnancy are vivid. All right, we'll watch that this week. Sophie, we're gonna be Sophie's best subscribers on her YouTube channel. It's gonna be great. Sophie's already written us an essay Does she have playlists? We can look at Sophie's playlists. Cat videos. Political theory talks. What's in Sophie's playlist? Let's look at all this. I think we watched this. That's Sophie giving a talk. We've got Sophie's playlist of talks that she watches. Oh, Sophie. Sophie. We love you, Sophie. You're the best, Sophie. Christmas did come early this year. I've never been so happy. Hey guys, you want to know what though? You want to know what? Another little bit of gossip, and then we're going to jump into the Peter Boghossian video, I swear. James Lindsay's surrogates are losing their fucking mind. Frank McCormick is on the brink. Frank McCormick is so obsessed with me. It's not even funny. Has anyone been looking at Frank's Twitter account lately? I just need to show people this. I need to commiserate. Frank is one of James Lindsay's best friends. Frank McCormick attacks me on behalf of James Lindsay almost every single day, but I don't so much mind it because Frank McCormick is generally one of the stupidest people on the internet, and the attacks he makes against me are so 5th grade that it is mind-blowing to me that this comes from an adult man that is in charge of teaching children. And so I just want to show you guys, we're just scrolling down Frank's Twitter feed literally right now. Literally just as it is right now. And he's complaining about Nick Fuentes. And then we're going to get to me. Hang on. Oh, look at this. Frank is trying to be me. He's trying to be me so bad that he is spending all his times making memes about how they all live in my head rent-free. This is because I'm intellectually critiquing James Lindsay's work. All of this is because I'm intellectually critiquing James Lindsay's work. Now let's just read what Frank had to say today. I did not like Dr. Carlin B., but the news of her death due to a brain aneurysm is sad. It's even harder knowing that the autopsy suggested that it was likely caused by me, Carrie Smith, James Lindsay, Deb Philman, and Mike Harlow living in her head rent-free. That's some projection right there. That's some projection. I hope you like people talking about you on their streams for 3 hours because that's what your life for your next week, Mr. Man. Frank is convinced that I do 3-hour streams about him all the time, apparently. He's got all these like dumb people in his replies. Let's just keep scrolling. Because we're going to find me again, I swear to you. Let's see. Oh, here is Poetry Painter posting about Socialism Saturday, and Frank is retweeting it. They're complaining about Socialism Saturday. Here is Frank posting about me again. And in this tweet I said, yeah, Frank is making a character attack because they can't take intellectual criticism. And Frank is saying, yep, I am making a character attack. So at least he has some self-awareness that Frank is not capable of engaging in intellectual discussion and only makes character attacks. This is like all day, every day. This is the one that James Lindsay retweeted. Like, it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. Look at this. This is a picture of me from like 2018. Carlin Borisenko announces she's joining the 4B movement. Her husband was reportedly crying at the news, but clarified they were tears of joy. I'm not joining the 4B movement. I really like sex and I'm going to continue having it. I'm very sorry to disappoint. I mean, but this is the type of shit he tweets about me all the time. Literally. There he is again. He posted this big long thread about me. He's complaining that I blocked him. I can't imagine why I would have blocked him. I really can't imagine why. This is literally Frank McCormick's Twitter feed right now. Half of it's about me. I'm like, yo, I blocked you, bro. I blocked you for a reason. Poetry Painter's the same way. Poetry Painter is also one of James Lindsay's friends. Let's just scroll down her Twitter feed. Oh, by the way, James went on trigonometry, so that'll be interesting for us to watch after the holiday. But da-da-da-da-da-da-da. There's Poetry Painter tweeting about me because I dared to respond to Maj Touré about something. But da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's Poetry Painter again tweeting about me because I responded to Maj Touré about something. Here's Poetry Painter. This is actually the most interesting thing. Check this out. So on Sunday, Howard Zinn tweeted, or Rothmoose tweeted out a meme from Howard Zinn. The meme said, historically, the most terrible things, war, genocide, slavery, have resulted not from disobedience, but obedience. James Lindsay is so pissed off that a libertarian Twitter account quoted Howard Zinn that he ignored what the quote said and was like, why are you quoting Howard Zinn? Now, in this case, Howard Zinn is actually correct because socialists are correct sometimes. We have to give them credit where credit is due. And so I retweeted that and I was like, is James Lindsay arguing that people should just follow orders when faced with things that are obviously and clearly wrong? And yes, apparently, according to James Lindsay and Poetry Painter and Frank McCormick, we are not allowed to quote left-wing people even when they say things correctly because our job is to follow orders even when they're obviously and clearly wrong. This is the level of intellectual honesty that exists in the so-called anti-woke movement. But I could keep going on and on and on about her account too. I just wanted to show you guys some of the psychos that I have to deal with on a daily basis. You're welcome. You're welcome. Like, these are the hits that I take for you guys. All right, who's ready to get into Peter Boghossian? Who's ready to watch some Peter Boghossian? Everyone, please make sure to mount the like button for me. Everyone, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not already. We are going to be watching this video from Peter Boghossian about him having a conversation with a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America. If you have any questions throughout this, please put them in the chat. If you have comments about what we're watching, please put those in the chat as well. And again, I am really hoping that Peter Boghossian knows what he's talking about. Fingers crossed. Let's get this party started.
Do you think private property should be abolished?
Yes.
Yes, and I can explain what that means.
Oh, we're getting an ad already? Of course we're getting an ad. Yep, ad.
Again, something to know.
Oh, hang on. It fast forwarded.
Do you think private property should be abolished?
Yes, and I can explain what that means.
Sure.
We don't think that private property can be like just a switch, turning it off, and then suddenly it doesn't exist anymore. That's not really what we're looking for. What the communists are looking for is this. We argue that if the working class had a revolution and the working class took power tomorrow, the first thing that we'd want to do is we'd want to go after the Fortune 500 companies, the biggest banks.
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, please.
We would want those to be expropriated. We would want the wealth that they created to be expropriated and through democratic decision-making invested back into communities. Reparations could be given towards the descendants of enslaved people. Reparations could be given to the people of Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries that have faced, Mexico, other countries that have faced U.S. imperialism.
We met this young man. Can I ask your name?
My name's Evan.
Evan, we met Evan, and he is with the...
I'm a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America, and this is our paper, The Communists. It's its third issue.
Okay, cool. So we're going to do a claim about communism, and we got the rules of the game about where we're going to move, if you choose to move at all. The working class should have democratic control of all society. That's the claim. Now, if you ever forget the claim, just look on the board. It's right up there. What do you mean by the working class?
Again, I think the
Proletariat.
best definition is just going to be somebody who meaningfully is living off of wage labor.
So what do you mean by democratic control?
Well, here's the thing.
Socialism.
In the United States, we have an
mean
amazing
socialism.
democratic tradition that we only have because we fought for. We fought for in the American Revolution. We fought for again in the American Civil War. We won certain democratic rights that are amazing, but we need to be frank about this. Every election year, we vote for Donald Trump, we vote for Joe Biden, Before, it was Barack Obama and John McCain in 2008. But either way, whoever wins.
For some reason, my browser just disconnected in the middle of the thing. I was just sitting here. I didn't even touch a button or anything. My browser just disconnected. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back. I don't know what just happened. I was just sitting here. All right, we're back.
I would argue, as a communist, whoever wins this election still maintains the rule of the capitalist class, the rule of the billionaires and the bankers. So what we're saying is that let's not just have a democracy where every 4 years you can vote for one politician who supports the capitalist class or another politician who supports the capitalist class. Let's have a society where all the corporations.
So the communists believe that Kamala Harris supports the capitalist class. Okay.
All the banks, all this university, everything that has value and creates value and produces something to keep society going. Let's have the workers who actually make those things run through their labor. Let's have those people democratically control those things, not have somebody like Jeff Bezos who doesn't really do any work controlling an exorbitant amount of wealth that other people create for him.
Okay, so what do you mean? I think I understand what you mean by democrat. What do you mean by control? So would Jeff Bezos just be given a standard salary and then the workers would make the decisions about what would happen collectively? Is that what you mean?
I think through the workers' organizations, through things like their trade unions that exist, but also through maybe forms of workers' organizations we haven't even seen yet. Popular democratic assemblies, people could come together and they could decide.
Guys, every time the far left says Democrat, they mean socialist. They do not mean democracy as in what we currently have, because they do not believe that the United States is a democracy. They believe that the Electoral College needs to be abolished. They believe the Constitution needs to be abolished. They believe the Senate needs to be abolished. They believe the presidency as we know it needs to be abolished. They don't believe in having that executive authority. They believe the Supreme Court needs to be abolished. And by the way, I'm talking about specifically this group, the Revolutionary Communists of America. So every time they're saying democracy, and Peter Boghossian does not understand this. If Peter Boghossian understood this, the conversation would be going very differently. When this guy says democracy, what he means is socialism. What he means is everyone coming together and having a quote-unquote equal say in how the world is operating. That means a world built on equity where there is no electoral college, there is no constitution, there is no Supreme Court, there is no Senate, there is no president, like executive branch. There would be some sort of House of Representatives style thing, but it wouldn't be exactly the current House of Representatives, but that's really more so what they're trying to build. Yeah, we're talking about pure mob rule. No hierarchies. Well, all unions are socialist. He just said it. Unions are workers' organizations. Unions are socialist. They're already socialist.
For instance, at this university, for example, I would say the students and the workers, they could come together and they could decide, well, like these are the classes we have. These are the different social services on campus. These are the different jobs that happen here. These are things that keep society going, that keep this campus going. Well, we should have democratic decision-making processes. We should be the ones that decide where our tuition money goes.
Okay.
We should be the ones that decide where the value we create, where that goes.
Okay, so
not Gene Block, not a handful of UC administrators.
Okay, so let me understand, just so that I know.
But that's just here at UCLA. I could, broader society, I would say, again, this should be a principle across the world, really.
Okay, hold on, because we haven't even begun playing the game yet. I just want to make sure that I don't want to move against something. No. Wouldn't that be non-democratic if you excluded certain people from the decision-making process?
Peter does not understand what's being said. Peter is working on a fundamentally different definition of democracy than what the socialist is saying, because when they say democracy, they mean socialism. They mean control by the worker. That's what they believe is democracy. So they're working on two different definitions, and Peter Boghossian hasn't stopped to say, what do you actually mean when you say democracy?
I think today it's non-democratic because again,
Today
we have this democracy.
What did he just say? Today it's non-democratic. Today, what we have today is non-democratic.
Be non-democratic if you excluded certain people from the decision-making process?
I think today it's non-democratic because again, we have this democracy. We have this what I would call a capitalist democracy or a bourgeois democracy where you can.
Pop quiz. Why does the revolutionary communist of America call what we have today the capitalist democracy or the bourgeois democracy? Do you guys know? Do you guys remember? Why is the communist saying that what we have today is a capitalist democracy or a bourgeois democracy? We just did a Socialism Saturday a couple weeks ago about this. Because property is what the whole system is based on. Yep, that's part of it. Because of the Electoral College, that's part of it. Because what about the US Constitution, Chad? Give me a little bit more. Because it is controlled by property. Well, not really, but kind of, not really. It's called that because the bourgeois make all the that doesn't tell me anything, Liquid Marble. Get more specific, please. Well, yes, but how? Don't just use keywords, guys. Explain to me how. Because our current democracy runs off a hierarchy and not a collective. Okay, tell me more. Nope, this is not true. They're not saying it's not a democracy because they're not the ones in power. That is a conservative bullshit talking point. Please unlearn that. That's not true. This is correct. The U.S. Constitution upholds capitalism. This is the crux of the issue. We just saw a presentation from the Denver Communists, maybe not even a month ago, for Socialism Saturday. Maybe it was around a month ago, I forget. But in that presentation, they explicitly said that the U.S. Constitution is a capitalist document, that the United States of America was founded on capitalism. That's why he's saying capitalist democracy or bourgeois democracy, because the Constitution, they believe, was created to uphold capitalism. That's why they can't have socialism without abolishing the Constitution. Does everyone understand? Because the Constitution and the whole government that it's set up upholds private property ownership. True. Capitalism is defined as private property ownership. Private property ownership, or bourgeois property, is what he would say, is your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a private business, whether that private business is big or small. Your parental rights are considered to be a form of private property. Your individual liberties are considered to be a form of private property. Bourgeois property means any property that you own that can allow you to create personal private wealth that leads to you having more wealth than other people, because that's what they believe capitalism is. Capitalism creates hierarchies in which some people have access to more private wealth than other people. What they want to do with socialism is level the hierarchy by making all resources available to everyone. That means no more private wealth. That's what they mean when they say they want to abolish bourgeois property. Constitution is our form of government that enforces property rights. Yup. It's colonized the land and made the land private property. You can buy a piece of land to have your house on. Yup. People aren't truly represented because we have government power like the House of Representatives. Well, okay, so the Electoral College means that there is no such thing as direct democracy, in that people aren't directly voting for the people who represent them. That's why they want to abolish the Electoral College. They want to abolish the Senate because it's not representative democracy. They want to abolish the Supreme Court because no one voted for people on the Supreme Court. They want to abolish the executive because they don't believe in hierarchies. Basically, in the socialist utopia, they'd still have some sort of like House of Representatives style thing, but it wouldn't exactly be what we have now. Everyone understand? Let's keep going.
You can vote one way or another every 2 to 4 years, but at the end of the day, whoever you elect, whether they're Joe Biden, whether they're Donald Trump, before, whether it was Romney, McCain, or Obama, or Hillary Clinton, whoever gets elected, it's always going to be the rule of a very small handful of billionaires and millionaires over the rest of society. That is what I would say is undemocratic. I think if we switched that, if the vast majority of people alive today who are not capitalists, who are not millionaires, who are not billionaires, the working class people, and
The vast majority of people alive today are not capitalists. What he means by that is the vast majority of the people who are alive today don't own their own home, don't own land, don't own apartments they can rent out, don't own a private business, don't own intellectual property in any meaningful way. That's what he means by that, guys. The vast majority of people are not bourgeois property owners in that they own this property that allows them to create personal private wealth. That's what he means when he says worker.
in other countries, maybe the peasant people, the people in the countryside, the people that frankly do all the work to keep this world going.
Like Reed, he's a peasant. He does all the work.
He's a hardworking man, obviously.
He's a servant. A serf and a servant and a peasant. He's a peasant. Reed is a peasant. But so keep going.
Peter Boghossian is making fun of this, but I don't think he really actually understands what he's saying, and that kind of pisses me off.
Like Reed, the people like me and you, the people like most people here, unless if you have $1 billion and you're just hiding that from us, all of us, I think, really should be the ones that are democratically controlling society. And again, that's going to come through not just our trade unions, but also these forms of
unions.
So
organizations that don't even exist
That
yet.
would mean that some people are excluded.
I would say a very, very tiny handful of millionaires and billionaires who control society now would be excluded. I think your argument is maybe similar.
I have no argument. I'm just trying to figure out the claim.
Well, here's the thing. Let's go back in time for a moment.
Okay.
Let's think about the American Civil War and the society that was set up in the American South, where a very small handful of people they literally owned millions of people. Right. Would we say that in those millions of enslaved people being freed, fighting for their own rights and being freed in the American Civil War, would we say that, this small handful of slave owners are their democratic rights being restricted? I think that would be a pretty absurd argument. And I think it's an equally absurd argument today to be saying that if these millionaires and billionaires lost their wealth, that they would be excluded from society or something like that. They would actually not be excluded from society. They would be just forced to live the way everybody else lives, which is working for a living. Yeah.
Like Reed.
Like Reed, like you, like me, probably 99% of the people walking by right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I understand the claim. The working class should have democratic control of all society.
No.
Move.
He still doesn't understand what the socialist means when he says democratic control. He is a fucking college professor. This really pisses me off. Peter Boghossian's not really listening to this guy. He's not really comprehending the things that he's saying. The socialist is being very, very, very clear about what he's saying, but it's going like right over Peter Boghossian's head because Peter Boghossian is looking for these opportunities to get these one-liners in so he can look like he's owning the libs when he tweets out this video, be like, look, bro, I talked to a communist today. But he's not really listening. He doesn't really understand what he said. It's so infuriating. He is a college professor. His only job is to teach people, and he can't even take the time to understand what's being said to him.
So, what is your best argument for that?
I would say that right now we already live in a society where there's an exuberant amount of value and wealth and social services created. We always hear about how there's never been more labor productivity in this country. Labor productivity has been going up and up and up. But let's be frank about it. The wages have not kept up with those things. Inflation has cut across people's ability to, the wage that they get paid. It might have been good a couple of years ago. Now it's not so good now. So we're already living in a society where the majority of people create all the wealth, but they're through their labor, but they don't really have meaningful control over that wealth. And I would argue due to things like inflation, the tiny bit of wealth they would be able to control through their wages is increasingly cut away.
How do they create wealth?
Through their labor, through our ability to work. Work creates wealth. There is no millions and billions of dollars going into the bank accounts of the capitalist class without people being able to create the commodities that were sold to create that wealth. So it's really our labor. It's our ability to work and create things, whatever it might be, whether it's a luxury item, whether it's a necessity, whether it's something that might not seem cool to you, but might seem cool to me. It's just our ability to work and create things, whether it's a necessity or a luxury item. That's what creates wealth is labor.
I think a strong argument that I have against it would be, I'm a big fan of democracy. I'm a big fan of one.
They're not using the same definition of democracy, and Peter Boghossian does not realize that. And so Peter Boghossian saying, listen, bro, I'm just a big fan of democracy, bro. That doesn't mean anything.
One person, one vote, independent of race or class or privilege. And I wouldn't want to take that away from anybody, particularly those who have made gains as a result of hard work.
That's not what he's saying, though. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying, when the socialists said the millionaires and billionaires would be quote unquote excluded from our system, he didn't actually mean they'd be totally excluded. He meant that all of their stuff would be taken away and given to the worker, and all decision making over how to run their businesses would be given to the mob. So it's not as though the millionaire and billionaire who used to own like Amazon or whatever thing they're talking about taking over, it's not as though they wouldn't have a say. They would get one vote. They would now be a worker, because everyone is a worker in the Marxist utopia. They would get one vote, and everyone else would get a vote too. So effectively, like, because we're talking about a really small population of people, their voices don't matter, because the proletariat is going to control everything based on the fact that they are a giant fucking mob. And we're talking about millionaires and billionaires who are getting their private property confiscated. We're talking about onesies and twosies. So and again, this is all reflective on the fact that Peter Boghossian does not understand what this communist is saying. Peter Boghossian's like, listen, man, I just believe in everyone having one vote and that being the way it is. That's effectively what he's saying. And if you understand how to speak socialist, you understand that. But in giving everyone quote unquote one, the socialist right now does not believe that everyone has one vote. The socialist believes that the millionaires and billionaires have all the votes, can make all the decisions, and that the poor oppressed workers can just go along with it. And he wants to flip that on its head. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, what the communist is saying is that there's no more fucking hierarchy. If you were a millionaire and billionaire, guess what? Now you're a worker, because everyone is a worker in the Marxist utopia. No one is not a worker, because we've eliminated all hierarchies and we're all at the same level.
I think that's one of the top 4 or 5 arguments I have against that.
It's not a good argument, though.
I think the people that work the hardest are the ones that are often paid the least. You know, the workers going down in the coal mines, the farm hands in this country who grow all the food that we eat, they're the ones that are working the hardest. People like Jeff Bezos, people like Mark Zuckerberg, they frankly haven't worked a day in their lives, and yet they're paid tens of billions of dollars.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just saying, like, it must have been, I haven't seen them, I don't really know anything about Mark Zuckerberg, I've never met him, but
neither have I.
He must have done a tremendous amount of work, taken risks to start it. He must have.
If I understand correctly, he stole a number of ideas from other people, and he was basically at the right place at the right time for a guy named Peter Thiel to give him an angel investment that was sort of able to kickstart the early Facebook company.
So he must have done some work. Or let's take an example.
He didn't work the way that literally, while we're speaking right now, thousands upon thousands of migrant workers are working in the countryside in this state to grow the food that everybody eats. He's never worked like that. People who are working
I understand
8,
what you mean by
days
work. You
and
mean like
getting paid very
manual
little.
labor when you say work.
That's one form of labor. That's one form of labor, just manual labor. But there's also the people who are writing things, people who...
Like the TAs you said before.
Yeah, I mentioned the TAs. Those people are also workers. The working class, it's the very broad majority of people alive today, I would say. The people that subsist off of wage labor. And again, they work and they get paid a wage back. And that could, and again, not just manual labor, although that's a very obvious example. There's many other different types of workers. And again, these people, even the people that aren't necessarily doing manual labor, the TAs, for example, they're working very hard. They work 8-10-hour days every day. They don't get paid very much. They might get paid better than the migrant workers, but they still don't get paid very much. And in fact, that's a big reason why there's been a pretty consistent series of strikes at the UCs in 2022, and then again this year, because they're not paid very well. I was a graduate of UC Irvine. Our administrator is a guy named Howard Gilman. Howard Gilman and Gene Block, they don't really work meaningfully at all. I think what they do is they answer emails.
Look how the communist is like running roughshod over Peter Boghossian, and Peter Boghossian doesn't even have any good arguments to counter it. I mean, maybe we'll get to that, but we're like almost halfway through this video, and basically the communist is saying everything. And the point I want to make is this. The Revolutionary Communists of America place a very high degree of emphasis on education. They do all these book clubs. They do all these educational events with each other. This guy has rehearsed these talking points over and over and over and over and over again. The Revolutionary Communists of America did a specific training to help its members stay 100% on message at all times. You saw this when they came on my channel. Every time I asked them a question, they would like twist the question to like have it be aligned with whatever talking point they wanted to say. They wouldn't answer my questions because they wanted to speak their talking points. And it's like, this guy, what the Revolutionary Communists of America does is so smart because they use every opportunity. Every time even just someone like me highlights them, they use it as a chance to speak their talking points. Every time Peter Boghossian wants to do an Owning the Libs video, they use it as a chance to speak their talking points. They train this stuff over and over and over and over and over again. They know how to deflect from any single thing that Peter Boghossian's going to say. They did this with Vivek Ramaswamy outside of the DNC when they were protesting that. We've seen them do this over and over and over and over again. Why? Because they take this seriously. Last year, the Revolutionary Communists of America decided to form an official political party in the United States. Since that time, I've heard that they're recruiting in mass numbers. They're growing extremely quickly because they're so good at this. And every time a new member joins, guess what happens? That new member pays membership dues. They pay 1 day's wages per month to the organization. In return, the organization sends them all these newspapers and they send them these stickers. And then the new members of the organization go out and they recruit other people. And they hand out these newspapers and they hand out the stickers and they take their personal time to go out and build the party. And they're not building a political party in order to run for office. They're not doing that at all. They're building a political party because they believe that the revolution is right around the corner. They believe that capitalism is completely failing and there will be an overthrow attempt of the government at some point. And they want to be ready with an organized group when the revolution happens. They're building a political party to give people something to join, to get them into a social system where they educate them, where they teach them, where they make them part of a community, where they give them all their literature to hand out. It's basically a little bit of a pyramid scheme in some respects, but it's a fucking communist party. That's why this guy's running roughshod over Peter Boghossian right now.
And they sometimes send emails out to the students telling them this or that. And they get paid a ridiculous amount of money. They're connected to a hedge fund that literally makes hundreds of billions of dollars every year.
All right, let's reset to neutral. Here, you can go in front of me. The more labor someone does, the more economically valuable it is. The more labor someone does.
And I should.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the labor.
I would put myself at perhaps slightly agree. I'll say agree. Yeah. And I guess what I would say to that is just like the people.
I think I might move.
You might move to disagree. I would just say that the more labor somebody actually does, the more that they're contributing towards the things that make society run. So in that sense, perhaps they're making society run more. At the same time, I don't want to get in a situation where we're saying people who are unemployed, for example, who've been laid off from their jobs are not economically valuable. They're very economically valuable. In fact, I would say anyone who has the ability to work should be given the opportunity to work for good wages, good benefits, houses over their heads, food on their table.
Who would give them that opportunity?
The state.
Well, I would say in a socialist society, in a communist
state.
society, in a society where workers have democratic control over all society, again, we've all our labor created that society. We should be the ones having democratic control over it. So in that scenario, I think everybody would be guaranteed a job. So long as they have the ability to work, they'd be guaranteed a job. They'd be guaranteed food on the table. They'd be guaranteed a roof over their head. And again, none of this.
If in a communist society, you are guaranteed a job because they're going to assign you your job and they're going to tell you what job you have, and you're not really going to have much say in it. You are guaranteed food on the table because of the communist society. The state that they build will control the entire food supply, and they will decide who gets the food and who does not get the food. You are guaranteed a roof over your head because they own all the houses and they're going to tell you where to live. And maybe if you don't do the things or say the things that they like, maybe you don't get to live in the nice house. You're going to get a roof over your head, but maybe not the roof you want over your head, and you don't really have a say in the matter. Does that make sense to everyone? So it sounds really nice to say, listen, in a communist society, everyone's going to have a job, everyone's going to have food on the table, everyone's going to have free healthcare, everyone's going to have free energy, everyone's going to have free education, everyone's going to have free housing, everyone's going to have everything they need. What does that mean? It means the state that they build, because they will be building a state, it's not going to be a capitalist state, it's going to be there, it's going to be a Marxist utopia. They control everything. You control nothing.
This is saying like a new, necessarily future society. I really think, again, the wealth that's already exists right now in the bank accounts of the capitalist class, in the bank accounts of the billionaires and the bankers, that money, which again only exists through the labor of workers all over the world, workers going back hundreds of years, all of that value that's been created, we could use to guarantee everybody employment, guarantee everybody a job, guarantee everybody food on the table.
What would be the motivator for anyone to do anything in that situation?
Because
if they don't work, they don't eat. Now, what he's going to say is something. Human beings want to be productive, and if we give people the ability to be productive, then they're going to want to do it for the innate goodness of wanting to do it. The reality is that, and again, this is where Peter Boghossian is not listening to him. Peter Boghossian is not actively listening. Peter Boghossian is just waiting to talk, which is annoying. This guy has already said twice, we're going to guarantee that you have food on the table. What does that mean? How are they going to guarantee you have food on the table? Because they're going to control the food. What happens if you don't go to the job you're assigned? You don't eat. What happens if you start saying things in the community that they find inconvenient? You don't eat. He's not going to say that, but this is like the logical extension of what they're talking about. If they control the food supply to the point where they can guarantee that everyone is going to have food on the table, then why can't they do other things with that food as well?
Again, like literally everything we have in society, it comes through work. It comes through the fact that we work and we have things. That's what would motivate people. They wouldn't be motivated by the threat of poverty. They'd be motivated by the fact that they understand that their work contributes to society running, and if society runs, it's only because of them.
He's talking about like the Che Guevara philosophy, where like communists need to get themselves to a place where they are doing the work because of like the innate satisfaction of contributing to the society rather than external reward. That's Che Guevara.
That's what I think would guarantee people, I think, happiness. And they'd also, for what it's worth, they'd be guaranteed things like there could be shorter hours. There could be more time to do other things, to pursue their families, to pursue their friends, to pursue, if they so choose, things like art. We'd no longer have to have the starving art, like Van Gogh, for example, the starving artist who only becomes popular after they're dead. Everybody that cares about art could contribute to art. Everybody that cares about science and has educated themselves in science, they'd have the opportunity to go to the university and get some sort of job pursuing that.
And that money would come from where?
Through our labor, through.
In the socialist utopia, there will be no more money. He's not going to say this. The communist is not going to say this. But one of the things that communists want to eliminate is money. They want to eliminate banks. They want everything to exist like in the form of like ration cards and things like that. Why? Because money creates hierarchy. Money leads to privatized, personalized wealth. If you don't have money, then you don't have private wealth anymore. If you don't have private wealth anymore, you don't have hierarchies anymore, because capitalism is defined as private property ownership, which means some people have more resources than other people. Those people are the bourgeois. The proletariat are the ones that don't have it. So you get rid of money, you get rid of the hierarchy. Everyone has access to the same resources. Everyone has access to the same ration cards. Azerwing, thank you for the super chat. I don't think most socialists understand that billionaires and millionaires don't have their wealth in physical money. And when they destroy capitalism, the wealth goes away because the stock market doesn't exist. Yeah, I would say you're probably 100% right about that, Azerwing. But they would also say it doesn't really matter because now everyone's on the same level. If we get rid of the stock market, we get rid of all privatized wealth, we get rid of all that bourgeois property, then everyone's at the same level. So it doesn't matter so far as they're concerned. But I think that that is a really, really fair point, and I do appreciate the super chat.
Let me ask you this: what really is money than just sort of an expression of value?
See? Look, what did he just say? Why, Peter? Why are we even talking about money? What even is money? Because they want to get rid of money. Let's see if Peter Boghossian listens to what he says and picks up on what he just said.
Through our labor, let me ask you this: what really is money than just sort of an expression of value? And I would argue value comes through labor. The things that like we value the most are the things that labor had to be put into. Things like, for example, what are the commodities that are important in our society? Things like oil, for example, because it makes things run. But the only way we have that oil is because a worker was able to take it out of the ground. A worker was able to refine it into gasoline. A worker was able to run the gas station that you put in your car.
So who would decide, for example, where the oil field, where they would dig for the oil field?
The worker.
The workers having democratic controls over things. They would understand, what does society need? So society needs energy. They would also understand what threatens society. Climate change threatens society. So they could decide, how much oil do we want to drill out of the ground, and how much do we want to actually pursue a green energy economy? Okay, well, if we pursue a green energy economy, maybe the oil workers will lose a job. Okay, well then let's decide to give these people retraining, building solar panels, building wind turbines, building hydroelectric dams. Again, it comes to democratic control of the workers over society. They would be the ones deciding things through democratic debate, through democratic planning.
How are disputes adjudicated in that system?
I'll tell you right now, they're going to get rid of the courts. They do not want the courts to stand as they currently are. So socialists want to, and I don't know if this is what he's going to say, but I'm going to tell you what the answer is. Socialists want to get rid of the entire prison industrial complex. They want to get rid of all prisons. They believe that there will be no more crime in the socialist utopia. If we don't have prisons anymore and we don't have crime anymore, that means we don't need the courts. But there is still going to be a mechanism for like adjudicating like disagreements, but it's going to be more about like mediation. So essentially, like, instead of suing someone in a court, what would happen is you two would go to some sort of like state sanctioned mediator. And socialists have, I saw this one socialist conflict resolution manual when I went undercover at the Socialism 2023 conference. I shit you not, it was like this fucking thick. It was this giant ass book that they have like ways of dealing with like any type of conflict that comes up in like their meetings and stuff. And so they've already thought through, how do we work through these issues? Well, they think they've thought it through. I mean, whether or not it actually works, I don't know. I didn't read the entire book or anything. But I'm saying is like, they would want people to go to more of like a mediated discussion to work out their differences among each other. And that is what effectively the court system would become in the socialist utopia.
Again, I would think it would come down to the workers in their organizations and their assemblies voting on things, voting to elect
Democratically.
people. And if they elect somebody who doesn't seem to be pursuing what they promised, they should have the right to recall that person. For example, right now, I think Joe Biden's approval ratings keep going further down and down and down, and people say, oh, we have to wait till November to vote him out. If we vote him out, we just get Donald Trump. That's capitalist democracy, quote unquote democracy.
See?
Under a workers' democracy, under a socialist society, it would be the workers who said that we elected this guy. He promised that he'd fight back against racism. He hasn't done that. He promised he'd listen to the Black Lives Matter movement. He hasn't done that. He only gave more money to the police. We don't have to wait till 4 years to get him out of office. We could right now, if there's enough of us, we could put forward a petition, get millions of signatures on it, and he could have an election tomorrow, and we could see whether we'd reelect him or not. That's just obviously one position, but not just one big figure at the top of things, but everybody, the democratically elected officials and officers.
See, not just one big figure at the top of things, everyone. It's a perpetual struggle session.
Of any level of society, whether it's the city, the neighborhood, a state, a nation, or even something worldwide, we could have that rule across the board. Real democratic decision-making, real democratic debate, not where you wait every 4 years and Fox News or MSNBC tells you which way to go. All the time, going out into society, seeing how things are run, having debates with people, having discussions with people, that's where things would be going. And if people are having those real debates and they say, well, we want to see a change in things, they could go to their local workers' council or their local workers' assembly that they all have democratic rights in, and they could say, we want to elect a new leadership. Or they could say, we want to defend the current leadership because we think they're doing a great job. That's what it would come down to.
Tayton, thank you for the super chat. Please clip and tag Peter in the sections of this guy calling Democrats capitalists and tell them and say, tell James that Dems are. No, listen. I don't want to do that. Listen. If I'm gonna post something to Peter Boghossian, I'm not going to do it to involve James or to get one over on James, because I just don't think that's a good way to be, guys. We have to be smart about this. Like, if I'm going to be tagging Peter Boghossian and I'm going to be asking you guys to tag Peter Boghossian, it's going to be more around like, Peter, here are all the things you don't understand about what this communist was saying when you were talking to him. Do you want to understand these things? Because we can help you understand these things. So, like, listen, as much as I appreciate the fact that the internet allows me to be antagonistic to people who I think are grossly misleading people like James Lindsay is, I also don't have any sort of like, I don't know what Peter Boghossian thinks of me. I've never spoken to Peter Boghossian. I don't know if Peter Boghossian even knows who I am. I don't know if Peter Boghossian is even paying attention to what James is doing. So why would I contact Peter Boghossian and say, tell James this? I have no idea if they even talk anymore, because it kind of seems like James has alienated a lot of people in the past couple of years. And if I'm going to be like, kind of like in Peter Boghossian's feed, it's going to be to say, bro, appreciate you having this conversation, but here's what you don't understand about talking to this guy. Do you want to see some primary source evidence from this group so I can show you what they really mean, so I can show you what they really think? It's going to be about more of like an opportunity rather than like owning someone on the internet. That's kind of how I feel about it. We want to always give people opportunities to do the right thing. Like genuine opportunities. We want to always give people opportunities to step up, to understand. I want it, and I know, like, when I get to the point of shitting on someone publicly, like I've been shitting on James Lindsay because he doesn't know what the F he's talking about, that will come after me trying to reason with that person like a normal human being for a while. I tried to reason with James Lindsay for 2 fucking years. I didn't just start fighting with him out of nowhere. I tried to reason with him and play nicely with him for 2 fucking years before I was finally like, bro, you're lying to people. This Gnosticism shit is unhinged. I don't want to hear about this anymore. I'm sick of people coming into my feed saying, James Lindsay saying everything is Gnostic. Blah, 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 blah. So I don't have any interaction with Peter Boghossian. So, like, it's my inclination to say, like, bro, like, you mean well and, like, appreciate you doing this, but there's some things you need to know. We tried to be nice. It failed. Then we were not so nice anymore. Are we going to be reviewing James Lindsay on trigonometry? Of course we are. We have to. We have to. But it's not until after Thanksgiving, Brucey. So we'll do an episode about it after Thanksgiving, and we will do it, and it's going to suck, and we're going to drink. And it's going to suck, but we will do it.
Again, all over the place, not just in the United States, but around the world, local level, state level, international, whatever it may be. However many communities there are, people deciding these things.
So the workers would then make the best decisions as opposed to that coming from on high?
I think the workers would make the best decisions for themselves and society as a whole. I think right now you have a situation where the capitalist class makes what are the best decisions ultimately for them. That might mean giving, again, like I mentioned before, we fought for our democratic rights before. We fought for certain social rights. So part of that might mean they have to give concessions to people. They have to grant certain reforms that might make life better. But at the end of the day, they're really making the decisions that are going to be best for them as a capitalist class. And that's included the situation where we all understand, or I'd say most of us, statistically speaking, opinion polling shows the majority of Americans feel threatened by climate change. They care about climate change. They want action done on climate change. And you get the situation where Joe Biden says, oh, I'll do something about climate change. I apologize. I'll do something about climate change. And then what does he do? He gives even more money towards fracking, even more money towards oil companies. That's a ridiculous lie. What kind of democracy is that? We think if the workers, as the international majority of people, democratically controlled society with their own assemblies, their own councils, on a local level, a regional level, a national level, and finally an international level, we would be able to be deciding these things. We could take immediate action on climate change.
Hang on. I just want to emphasize what he just said. How they want society set up is with worker councils on the, what did he say? Local, regional, national, and international level. Let's just listen to that again.
As the international majority of people, democratically controlled society with their own assemblies, their own councils, on a local level, a regional level, a national level, and finally an international level.
Okay. So what I said earlier, the revolutionary communists, I literally have them on video talking about overthrowing the current capitalist government. You can find that video on my Substack. I mentioned it earlier. They said they want to overthrow the government. They want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish the executive. They want to raise the red flag of communism above the White House, okay? We've already talked about the fact that the revolutionary communists of America believe that the United States of America is founded on capitalism. The Constitution is a capitalist document. They believe that the Electoral College reinforces capitalism. They believe the Supreme Court reinforces capitalism. They believe the Senate reinforces capitalism. They believe the executive reinforces capitalism. They believe that every Democrat, like what we think of as democratic norms in our society based on the Constitution, they think all that reinforces capitalism. The only thing, as I mentioned earlier, that they're kind of okay with is the House of Representatives. That's going to be what their version of the state looks like on the national level. So essentially what we're talking about is communities of socialists in the Marxist utopia electing people to serve on like their board, probably for like limited terms, and they'd probably be they would want to swap people out like frequently. They basically serve on boards at the local level, the regional level, whatever region they live in the country. Now remember, socialists don't believe in borders. So we're not talking about being the United States of America anymore because there would be no more borders, and we're going to get to that in a second. So the local level, the regional level, the so-called national level, and then he went up to the international level. Why did he go up to the international level? Because the revolutionary communists of America are Marxist-Leninists, and that means they believe that socialism cannot be achieved unless it happens on a global level. So every time someone says, why don't they go live in Venezuela? Why don't they go live in Cuba? Why don't they go live in China? By the way, these socialists do not believe that China's communist. They believe China's capitalist. So they're not going to live in China because they don't believe that China aligns with what they want. That is a different talk about Stalin and Mao, who are people that they don't like, okay? But the reason that communists and socialists don't go to live in communist or socialist countries is because they believe that the United States is the most important domino to fall to communism and Marxism. And if the United States falls to communism and Marxism, all the other countries are going to fall as well, because they believe they need to create a global communist society in order for real communism to work. When they say real communism has never been tried, which they do literally say, what they mean is that Stalin, after he took over in Russia, screwed everything up by not making it a global endeavor. They believe that Stalin was at fault for real communism never being tried because Stalin wasn't doing it on a global level. Lenin wanted to do it on a global level. He didn't get the opportunity to do so. The only communism that is real communism is communism that takes place through an industrialized society. It goes from an industrialized society into a communist society, and then communism is exported to exist on a global stage. That's when we have real communism. When we have global communism. Does everyone understand? Let me know if you have questions.
We would be able to be deciding these things. We could take immediate action on climate change tomorrow. We wouldn't have to wait for the billionaires' bank accounts to get hit. Because until the billionaires' bank accounts get hit, they're going to let the world keep dying. So it says private property gives the working class social and political power. And I would move towards strongly disagree.
No, he doesn't believe that.
Yeah, and I would just say,
Peter Boghossian doesn't know the definition of private property. I'm calling it right now. Peter Boghossian does not understand what this guy means when he says private property.
I mean, what is private property?
See?
What even are the things that we consider private property? Is private property just the fact that people might own the house they live in? If you're lucky.
As a reminder, when these socialists say private property, they mean bourgeois property, which means your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own apartment rental, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a private business, whether or not that private business is big or small. Your parental rights are considered to be a form of private property. Your individual liberties are considered to be a form of private property. But more broadly speaking, when they say bourgeois property, they mean any property that can be used to create personal private wealth. So you can sell a home for a lot of money. That creates personal wealth for you. You can pass your home down to your children. That creates wealth for your children through generational wealth. You can do the same thing with land. You can sell apartments. You can rent out apartments to create wealth. You can sell apartments to create wealth. You can sell private businesses to create wealth. You can utilize private businesses to create wealth. Parental rights create wealth because of generational wealth. It also has to do with like healthcare and care and all that. We're not going to talk about that today. But essentially, all those things that I had on that list help to create personal private wealth, which socialists do not want anyone to have personal private wealth because that creates hierarchies, and hierarchies are an inequity. And in the socialist utopia, there are no hierarchies. There is no inequity. No, it's no, Tayton, no. It is not any property that is used to benefit you personally. It is property that is used to create personal private wealth. We need to be precise about these definitions. Because if you say any property that can be used to benefit you personally, a socialist is going to say, well, a car can be used to benefit you personally, but that's personal property. It's not private property. A computer can be used to benefit you personally, but that's personal property. That's not private property. A cell phone can be used to benefit you personally. That's personal property, not private property. We have to be specific about these definitions, because the minute that we are not specific about these definitions is the minute that the left tries to gaslight us into believing they're not really doing the things that we know they're doing. Yeah, these particular socialists would have much preferred that Trotsky take over instead of Stalin. They basically believe that Trotsky was the rightful heir to Lenin and that Stalin screwed everything up.
Because not everybody can be in that situation. That might be one definition of private property, but I think what's even more meaningful...
Yeah, I don't own my house.
Yeah, I'm a renter, or actually more accurately, my dad's a renter because I had to move back in with my dad. So I don't necessarily own my house. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I own a house. this is my way to make money or get a better life for my family.
Make money.
I think what's much a more
See?
meaningful definition of private property is the fact that there's these giant real estate companies, giant landlord corporations. Not even like a singular landlord. Like there's whole mortgage companies, whole corporations that rent thousands and thousands and thousands of properties out to people, basically just stealing people's wealth, essentially stealing the wealth that they created through their
Landlords who own apartments that rent them out are stealing other people's wealth. Now, is he necessarily wrong about what he's saying? No, he's not wrong. But, and I'm going to say this too. I'm not going to sit here and suggest that capitalism is a perfect system. I'm not going to suggest that they don't have like legitimate grievances every once in a while. But the bottom line is, if someone can take away BlackRock's property, they can take away your property. If they can take away some people's apartment rentals and say, you don't own these anymore, we own these now, then they can take away yours, and they will. Because it will always start with the bigger ones, and everyone that's not like a billionaire goes, yeah, fuck those guys, like whatever. It will always end up with you losing your ability to own that stuff too.
Labor. So what we argue is that actually through the abolition of private property, through the expropriation of the capitalist class, of the millionaires and billionaires, that wealth goes out to people. That wealth that people created would actually be able to go out to people, would actually be able to give people much more meaningful social and political power than they're guaranteed under the capitalist system today.
Do you think private property should be abolished?
Yes.
Yes.
And I can explain what that means.
Sure.
Because we don't think that private property can be like just a switch, turning it off, and then suddenly it doesn't exist anymore. That's not really what we're looking for. What the communists are looking for is this. We argue that if the working class had a revolution and the working class took power tomorrow, the first thing that we'd want to do is we'd want to go after the Fortune 500 companies, the biggest banks.
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, please.
We would want those to be expropriated. We would want the wealth that they created to be expropriated and through democratic decision making invested back into
Socialist
communities.
decision-making.
Reparations could be given towards the descendants of enslaved people. Reparations could be given to the people of Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries that have faced, Mexico, other countries that have faced U.S. imperialism. But also we could be giving it towards the poorest people in the society so that they could have hospitals, they could have jobs, they could have food on the table, they could have a roof over their heads. That's the first thing we would do. The small business owners who are a sizable portion of this country, the small business owners are not the people we would want to be going after and taking their wealth away from. We're not trying to go after mom and pop, even a mom and pop landlord or a mom and pop business, a family grocery store. Those are not the people we want to go after. We want to go after.
It doesn't start there. It will end there because you cannot create a Marxist utopia. Like, listen, guys, let's just be brass tacks. You cannot create a Marxist utopia in which some people are allowed to own bourgeois property and other people are not allowed to own bourgeois property. If they go after the millionaires and billionaires and they take all their stuff, and it's just like the mom and pop stores and the people with the small houses that still own their property, that creates a hierarchy. And now all of a sudden you have the millionaires and the billionaires who had all their stuff taken away. They're at the bottom of the hierarchy, which these people would argue is good. But you still have people who do own homes, who do own land, who do own private businesses, who are passing personal private property down via... You still have people that have bourgeois property. And at some point, you're going to have to deal with those people as well. Because you cannot create a Marxist utopia where some people have bourgeois property and some people don't. That's not the point. So he's lying here.
Yeah.
Amazon, we want to go after Facebook. We want to go after Walmart. We want to go after
Tesla,
Bank of America. Those are the big corporations. Those are the ones we'd want to go after.
And when you say go after, you mean like, would you imprison the people at the top?
No, not necessarily. What we mean by that is that the working class should be the ones that are owning these things. We would want to create a government of the workers, a workers' government that could nationalize those things. Actually, by the way, in the American Revolution, when our ancestors won their independence from England, one of the first things they did is they took all the property from Tory landowners. And what the Tories were, they were traitors. They were people in the colonies who had sided with the king, who had sided with the British. They were often some very wealthy people. The first thing that George Washington and his new revolutionary government did was they took the property of those people and they sold it for very small amounts to small farmers and towards the poorer people of society. That was the first thing that we did. So I would argue the concept of taking the property and the wealth of a ruling class is not even an un-American idea. It's happened in American history before. It happened in the American Revolution. The expropriation of the slave owners, the abolition of slavery, that was also an expropriation of private property. It was one of the most heroic things that this country ever did. It was one of the most heroic things in American history. It was won through struggle. And that's actually, I think, all we're advocating for today is we're advocating for another turn of that, where the new ruling class can be expropriated, their property, give the property that, again, we would argue it only exists through the labor of the workers, could be given back to society. That's what we're fighting for. And these ideas, they're not without precedent in American history. That's a big thing that I would want to argue.
And do you feel that you've had ample opportunity that I've let you speak, and do you feel?
Thank you so much for letting me speak. Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And do you feel I asked you? I was because we had different opinions. Did you feel I was harsh to you?
No.
Or mean to you? Or
you seem like a very honest person. You seem like the type of person that just wants to know where I'm coming from. And even though I have an opinion that might be unpopular, you've given me the opportunity to speak here and share my mind, and I very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That's it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
That's it. All right. Dragon Balls. Peter moved to France without learning French and is trying to order French fries while wearing earplugs. Carlin is the 10-year expat who's like, bro, no. Yeah, that's kind of like what I felt like. It's like I live in the land of socialists. I know exactly what that guy is saying. Peter Boghossian is trying to understand. Maybe he's not even trying to understand. Maybe he's just trying to make content for the internet. I don't really know. But it's like, it's just so frustrating, right? Because it's like, again, I'm really not trying to be too hard on Peter Boghossian. I don't know if he has any desire to learn this stuff. I don't know if he's just trying to make content for the internet. I don't know where he is at on his particular journey. But if he understood like the basics of the language that guy was using, he would have been able to offer so many, like, ask so many more interesting questions. And it's just like, it's like what a waste of a perfectly good video. Peter Boghossian basically gave the communists like half an hour to like spout his ideas and talking points. Wasn't challenged at all. Peter Boghossian didn't really even understand what he was saying a lot of the times, or he didn't make it clear to me that he understood what he was saying. What can you do? What can you do? We're years ahead. We are in the unexplored niche. And someday everyone will catch up to me and they will know that I was right all along, but they will never admit it. They will never admit it. All right, guys, we have a couple extra minutes, so I wonder if you guys will allow me a point of personal privilege. Do you guys want to go back and watch the rest of this video that we started watching last week about communists, like, answering questions about what they believe? This is also this is Revolutionary Communist International, which is the international version of what we just watched. And we didn't get a chance to finish this last week, and I just want to finish it. So, let's take a moment.
The country that we want.
No.
The way they try to portray communists and left-wing people is they hate the country they live in. They hate their own country.
If you hate Britain so much, then why don't you just go to Cuba
somewhere else,
or go to Vietnam? Or...
But that's not true. You see, we don't hate the country we live in. Actually, we love the countries that we live in.
Yeah.
It's precisely because we love the country that we want everybody in this country to have a good job, to have good wages. We want everybody in this country to be able to have a good education for their kids. We want everybody to have a good healthcare system available for them rather than having to pay for it. Because the way we're going, in this so-called national unity, some people are going to be able to afford the private healthcare they want to force us to pay for, and the poorer layers are not. Where's the national unity where a section of the population literally is looking at the possibility of dying early because they can't afford the health care that they want to force on us in the future. So that's not the that's not what we love. What we love is the country we live in should be a country where everybody can live a reasonable life. But that means logically that loving your own country means also loving the countries of other people too.
Right.
Because it's only collaborating together with people in other countries that we can actually achieve the kind of life we would like to have. Now, people can be proud of their cultural heritage. You know, there's nothing wrong in being proud of Shakespeare or Dante or whatever culture you adhere to. That's a different question. You can be proud of that. You can be proud of your language. You can be proud of the food, depending on.
Yeah, but maybe in the UK there's a slightly tougher sell.
Depending on the country you live in.
A slightly tougher sell in the UK.
That is a separate. The point is this: the nationalism which says that what comes first is the unity of the poor with the rich of each country is a nationalism we reject.
Yes.
Now, there's also different types of nationalisms. There's the nationalism which emerged, let's say, the peak of the British Empire, which treated the people that they were colonizing as inferior, almost animal-like people.
Often worse than animals.
Yeah. Well, slavery itself, the way they justified slavery, for example, and the slave trade.
Yeah, slave masters treated their dogs better than they treated human beings.
Well, the way to do it was to actually create the idea that black people are inferior, or not even human, fully human. That makes it easier to treat them like animals. That was the worst nationalism that we've seen, in the sense of the idea of a supreme or superior people. That's one kind of nationalism.
They think nationalism created
the extreme
slavery.
form, which we would reject.
That means fascism.
There's another, however, which is the nationalism of the oppressed peoples. And there are sometimes, you see the nationalism of let's say the nationalism of an African people or an Asian people.
Or the Palestinians, perhaps.
The Palestinians is another example.
You've been on telly a couple of times in the past few weeks where you specifically made the point that we as communists support the aspiration of the Palestinian people to a homeland.
That's right.
To a nation.
Every people has the right to a homeland. Now, the nationalism of oppressed peoples, for instance, the nationalism of the peoples who rose up against the British Empire, the nationalism of the Indians as they rose up against the British, is a different kind of nationalism to the nationalism which was of the British who were oppressing them. It had a revolutionary kernel to it, it had a revolutionary content to it, because it was the aspirations of a whole people to remove the oppressor.
Yeah, it was a strike against colonialism and imperialism by necessity.
That's right. That's why it's not. There's not one form of nationalism.
Sure.
It's also true that once these nations have achieved nationhood, India removed the colonial yoke, then the same nationalism which earlier on would have been the nationalism of an oppressed people can transform itself into the nationalism of a Modi.
Well, take, for example, the question of the struggle for Irish liberation. James Connolly famously said, while at one stage armed and organized alongside with bourgeois Republican nationalists, he said to the working class elements, basically, if we succeed, keep hold of your guns and watch out for these guys, watch out for these bourgeois nationalists, because they're going to be our enemies.
That's right. If you think about it, today in India, the nationalism of a Modi has within it the oppression of the Muslims of India. Why? Because they need to divide and rule, to distract attention from the problems of Indian capitalism. The Hindu majority is pushed against the Muslim minority. So where's the nationalism here? Are the Muslims of India not also Indian citizens? And this happens in many countries. You have these minorities. Where's the nationalism?
Yes.
If nationalism is everybody in that country who's a citizen should come together, how do you explain this phenomenon?
Yeah, well, Lenin once said, I think that you alluded to it earlier, that nationalism can be the shell within which is contained a revolutionary kernel, but he also said that it could be a shell which contains a reactionary kernel.
Of course.
And Lenin was always very clear, even in contexts where the communists unequivocally supported the struggle of an oppressed people.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Poland comes to mind, for example, he nevertheless insisted on the independence of the working class elements. He said that you must not blend your banners with the bourgeois national.
No, this isn't true. Socialism is not national. Socialism, by their definition, has to be international. It's not about, they don't believe in borders, bro. They literally don't believe in borders. There wouldn't be, in the socialist utopia, there would not be countries. They believe borders uphold private property.
Nationalists, because when it comes down to it, they're not our allies.
No, but we've seen it many times where a nation aspiring to nationhood finally achieves it, and then within its borders you have oppression of other peoples. You look across many countries, you'll see it. Minorities, sometimes significant minorities, that are oppressed within that nation, which earlier was in a fight against the imperialist dominators. So nationalism changes over time, but if you want to give the final short answer is, we're internationalists, and we believe that workers of each country can defend their interests far better in a common struggle with the workers of other countries, and not in a common front with their own oppressors.
See?
All right, last one.
They're internationalists. They believe workers can work better across countries with each other than they can within their own country.
What would communism look like?
Good question.
We don't know. End the episode. That's it.
Yes.
They do know.
Would the capitalists or the bourgeois that fought under Cromwell to change society in Britain have really been able to answer the question, what would advanced capitalism look like?
Well, they didn't even know they were going to kill King Charles to begin with.
They wouldn't have known. But what we can say is it's also not true to say that, we don't know anything. We do know. First of all, it would be a nationalized planned economy. The means of production, the big means of production, would be publicly owned.
Anytime you guys hear the term planned economy or managed economy, Barack Obama specifically used the term managed economy in a speech he gave last November. If you hear those terms, that means socialism, okay?
They would not function on the basis of profit for a private individual, but would be used for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Just to go back to the question of water. If water were publicly owned, the money that we've thrown away over the years to the private investors would have been used to improve the techniques, to massively increase the capacity to recycle water, to cleanse water, and not to throw waste into rivers. But that doesn't apply. People sometimes say, water is okay. The railway is the same thing. We would have created a much better railway network had it been public, even under capitalism, by the way. But under a communist society, publicly owned transport would actually mean, for example, providing transport, good quality transport, to such a level that we could massively reduce the amount of vehicles on the roads, which are contributing enormously to pollution and to the health of people who have to breathe the air that these fumes pollute. So it would be publicly owned, it would be planned, but who would be running these companies? Again, it would not be capitalists, because there would be no private ownership of the means of production, but it wouldn't be unelected, untouchable bureaucrats either. It would have to be officials who are elected to the position. Now people say, you can't have meetings every day. Of course not. You can't have an assembly every day on how to run a factory. But you can have regular assemblies over a period. You can have different opinions expressed on how that company should be run. And according to a well-informed workforce, you would be able to proceed to elections of officials who whose job would be to run that particular unit of production. Elected to a position like that, the workers would elect those you would think would be the most experienced, the most skilled, the most educated in that field. But they would be required,
it always works out like that, doesn't it?
not
Always
to
works
earn
out like that.
the wages of privilege, but to earn the wages of the people who have elected them. And you'd have election of delegates to higher bodies. You'd have the right of recall. Today they say we have a democracy. What we have today is every 5 years or so,
see,
one group.
Do you guys notice that this guy is literally using exactly, and I mean exactly, the same talking points as the student that Peter Boghossian was talking to in that video? Do you guys think that's an accident? It's not an accident. They're literally using verbatim the same talking points because they train people on these talking points. They drill people on these talking points. They practice these talking points. This is ingrained into them. It's not an accident. This is all for public consumption. This is all a PR campaign. That revolutionary communist talking to Peter Boghossian is part of their PR campaign. When the revolutionary communists came on my channel, that was part of their PR campaign. When they talked to Vivek Ramaswamy at the DNC, that was part of their PR campaign. It's all extremely planned. It's very pragmatic.
Politicians promises you they will do this, this, and this in order to win the elections. They get elected, and then the remaining period of the 5 years is spent discussing why they're not carrying out what they promised, why they're doing this instead of that. We see it today with Starmer. But people have realized that what they voted for is not what they're getting. Where's the mechanism to say, just a minute, stop this? You've been there 6 months. We can see where you're going. We want to remove you. We want the right to elect people who are definitely going to carry out what they promise. There is no such mechanism under capitalism. Under communism, you would have such a mechanism. It would be the guy that we've elected is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're going to call an assembly to change that elected official or delegate, etc. And it would work all the way through the system. The means of production that way, the priority would be what is good for the whole of society, not what is good for an individual or a small group of owners. And in such a society, the immense wealth which today is privately appropriated and held by a small minority, these individuals who, they go up in a spacecraft to feel the effect of weightlessness for a few seconds, and it costs them billions to achieve.
I prefer the ones that go down to the ocean floor in badly made submarines, personally.
Yeah, yes. But when I see that, I think, my God, they have billions to make toys for themselves, basically, where there's people who are going hungry. That's an example of how that wealth, if it was collectively controlled, would be used to solve the real problems of society. Income, they say, communists want everybody to be poor, equally poor. No, I think communists want everybody to be equally well off. I'm not fighting to make everybody equal to the poorest person on the planet.
You're equally rich and equally poor because there is no hierarchy. There are no people with more resources than others. So it's just like people need to, you guys understand this is spin, right? People say you want everyone to be equally poor. No, we want everyone to be equally rich. It's the same. That's what a Marxist utopia is. It is a world without hierarchy. Hierarchy is some people have more resources than others. Equity is everyone has the same. Whether you're equally rich or equally poor, it's the same.
I'm fighting so that everybody has a decent house. Everybody has a decent school in the neighborhood for their kids.
Is decent?
Has enough teachers, in that school to provide their kids with a good education. Everybody has a clinic or a hospital they can go to in a moment of need. Everybody can go and visit the doctor, not have to call, hoping that you'll get a call back and sometimes never get one, but actually have a doctor that's available. That can only be achieved by using the collectively produced wealth of millions in a rational, planned way to provide those services under the control of the working class. And if we have an institution which says everybody that's elected can be recalled by the body that elected them at any time if they're not carrying out the program they were elected on, and two, anybody that's elected must live on the wages of the people that have elected them. Because think about it, if being elected to Parliament means, like Starmer, you receive £100,000 in donations of clothing. I often wonder, how many clothes do you have to wear? Or Marcos, the wife of Marcos, do you remember the dictator?
Yeah.
3,000 pairs of shoes. I was trying to work out
So that's 2 feet.
How long it would take to wear all those shoes, That shows you the absurdity of this system. But if the political system is structured in a way like the one we have, that to be elected to a position automatically puts you on the road of privilege. First of all, you start getting an MP's wages, which is a lot higher than a worker's wage. But on top of that, you get all the other perks. You get all the connections. How many politicians do you see retire from politics and that you find them on the board of directors of this company, of that company, or they go and do conferences, then they pay them £200,000 for an hour of talking. They're opening the door to enormous wealth and privilege. Inevitably, a political system that's based on that is going to have corrupt politicians. If we establish the rule, you live on the wage of the workers that elected you, and they are going to scrutinize everything you do. Obviously, if somebody's elected and has to travel for work, will pay for the travel, has to stay in a hotel, pay for the hotel. But the wages that he lives on or she lives on must correspond to the working people that they've elected by. Just to really, really simplify it, if an MP, when he's asked to vote a budget which includes massively increasing the cost of gas or electricity or fuel, lives on the wages of ordinary working people, maybe he'll think twice before doing something like that.
Yeah.
But when they live in privileged conditions, they act like privileged people and the class they represent. Communism would be the exact opposite of that. All officials will be elected, would be recallable, and would have to live on the wages of the people that elected them. In that sense, think about it. It would be in their interest then, if you want to improve your standard of living, you've got to improve it for all working people together collectively. And then, you'll have all the services, the good housing, the hospitals, etc. Life would become reasonable and good for the mass of people. In the long run, once such a system gets off the ground and starts functioning, people would see the benefits of such a system. And they say, how could... Once it's established and people look back in history and say, there was a time when the wealth you produced was appropriated by a small minority that used it for their own benefit while people starved in some parts of the world. In other parts, there were wars over the resources and spheres of influence. This was what it was like in the past. And you say, do you want to go back to that? I think society would say no. Just as today, you ask any average person, do you want to go back to being a serf on the land under a feudal lord? Who would say yes to that?
Or even under capitalism at a certain stage, you could say, they used to send kids in London up chimneys with long brushes and they'd clean out the chimneys of the rich and they'd all come down with bent spines and broken bones and they'd have emphysema and they'd die in their early teens.
They said this earlier. They want to essentially engineer society so that people do it for the innate pleasure of doing it rather than for external compensation. That's what they're going to be. That's what they want to try to do. Anyway, guys, we sadly have to cut it short. We're almost at the end of this video anyway, but I do have a call with my supporter community coming up in a couple of minutes. If you would like to join us for that call, what I need you to do is head over to my Substack. That is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Sign up to be a supporting member for $8 a month, $80 a year. You guys keep me in business. I am 100% funded by you. I cannot do this without you. If you want to join the supporter call, what you need to do is go to the Unwoke Roundup email that I've got right over here. Click on that. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. And underneath this red box, you are going to find your supporter perks for the week. That includes access to the supporter call that's starting in like 2 minutes. That includes access to the community, the supporter Discord that I do. We do movie nights on Friday, Sunday, and Monday in the supporter Discord now. So there will be a movie night in the supporter Discord round about 9 p.m. tonight, hosted by Mac B after we have our call. It is the last movie of Nuclear November, so it's going to have something to do with nuclear. I forget exactly what it is, but Mac B will be posting about it in the supporter Discord. I will be posting about it in the supporter Discord. And I really recommend, like, a lot of people go to movie nights on Sunday night in my supporter Discord with Jennifer, which is great. Mac B is hosting some great movies. They're movies that I haven't seen. They're like kind of like cult classic movies. I've been enjoying them. I think it's really good. We've got Honest Dog Allison hosting movies on Fridays now around 9 p.m. These are going to be more vintage movies, like 70s movies. So we're really getting to a point where there's like some activity going on almost every day of the week in my supporter Discord. We have writers group on Thursday nights. I'm going to be starting a zine group on Wednesday nights. We're going to learn more about that a little bit later this week. You know, fingers crossed. So we really are getting to the point in the supporter Discord where there is something going on every single night. So if you're a supporter of my work, get into the supporter Discord, get active in the Discord. If you don't understand how to use Discord, I understand that, because there was a time when I didn't understand how to use it either, but we will teach you. Just follow the link in the supporter perks and we'll get you in there. We'll get you verified. We'll get you using it, and let's everyone enjoy like all the great content that's being created in the supporter Discord, because it really is a very nice place to be. Thank you to Honest Dog Allison for hosting movies. Thank you to Mac B for hosting movies. Thank you to Jennifer for hosting movies. Thank you to Sin and LK for hosting writers group. Like, we've got a lot of great stuff going on, so everyone should take advantage of it. Also, as a reminder, I have just launched my Black Friday sales in the Unwoke Art store, and the first set of Black Friday sales is going to be 25% off all the designs that you see on the screen here. So these are new designs in the Unwoke Art store. We've got Communism Kills Creativity, Oppressed Communists. We got the Marxism is Evil yard sign that everyone really likes. We've got a couple Christmas designs. We've got Santa Hates Socialists with a piece of coal. We got a Christmas tree on fire because communism kills Christmas. Those are available as wrapping papers if you want to annoy the leftist in your life. And we have the one, the only, the ancient map of Retardia, thanks to Bot. So all of these designs up until Black Friday are 25% off. So if you're looking for an opportunity to get some Christmas gifts, you've been like eyeing some of these things, now's a great time to do it, because on Black Friday, we're going to be launching a new set of sales. So you want to get these designs while you can. And you can also peruse all the other merch I've got in the merch store. We've got a great Trump collection. I've got the best anti-communist merch on the internet. We've got lots of great stuff, from t-shirts, hoodies, glasses, mugs, like whatever you want. And if you see a design you like and it's not on a piece of merch that you like, just tell me what it is and I'll see if I can do it. All right, guys. That is all I have for today. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Let me see. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to go do my supporter call now. So take care, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer. this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.